Horizon d'Afrique, a production of Kwasambia African TV, bridging Africa to the world. Today's show was sponsored by...
We want to thank our viewer for joining us today again in this studio. This is Kwasambia African TV, and we are here with your favorite show, Horizon d'Afrique. And today we are going to talk about the African diaspora and the creation of small businesses. Now, my name is Pierre, and I'm taking over for Frank today, who's in an assignment. And here in Studio Thomas Sankara, we are celebrating Black History Month. And in this pandemic time, there was a lot of talk about how important small businesses are to the development of the economy. So again, the term we're gonna talk about today is the African diaspora and the creation of small businesses. Now, here with me on the studio are two young business owners who are going to help us sort all that out. I have Mr. Francois Yambi. Francois, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And Francois is the owner of KG Taxes and Accounting Solution here in Omaha. And we also have Mr. Kuala Julien, who's the representative here in the United States and in Africa of Wendok Sportwear. Mr. Kuala, thank you, and thank you for being here with me. So, my first question will go to you, Francois, and it's a very simple question. What type of businesses member of the diaspora do you think the member of the diaspora can successfully create and run?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pierre, for the opportunity to talk to our fellow members of the diaspora. As your question is talking about how and which business a diaspora member can think of creating in America. Here, the businesses there are four main type of businesses that you can create. So the simplest one is like you are a sole proprietor. It means that you don't own business with anybody.
Right.
So you don't really need to do any registration with the state.
Okay.
You can just start creating, unless the reason why you are going to be out as a business requires you to have a certificate. For instance, you cannot create your small business to be like a sole proprietor and then be a CPA if you don't have a certificate.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So you have to have those credentials before you create your sole proprietorship and get going. Okay. That's the basic and simple one to create. Okay. After that, we have a partnership. So under the partnership, you can have a general partnership, a limited liability partnership, an LLC. Okay, what is a partnership? When there is two people getting together to undertake a business opportunity, mind that when there's a profit, they will share among themselves. Mm-hmm. A general partnership means that no one owning the business share has a limitation to a liability. When we're talking about a limited partnership, it means there's somebody who's a general partner and then it doesn't have limitation of liability, while the limited partners has a limitation, which means they can only lose up to how much they invested in the business. If the business does something and then all the assets of the business have been sold and cannot offset the liability, then they can go after the general partner. While the limited partner, you cannot.
Cannot go. Okay.
Whatever the investors, that's it. So
the limited partner is safe.
It's safe. It's safe. Okay. So along the way, the American Congress have come to realize that people like to sue small businesses because if you are limited, you don't have a limitation of liability, people can sue you and then get access to your own assets. So they talked about allowing businesses to still be small businesses, be partnership, and then work without being sued like people like to sue up here. So they created the LLC, which is a limited liability company. It's basically a partnership.
Right.
Also, you can be single and be owner of a limited liability company, okay? Mm-hmm. After that, there's a second term, which is S corporation. The S corporation is like a business that is incorporated and can only have up to 100 members of owners, so shareholders, that would say. And they don't have to have somebody who's not an American to be owner of that. It is the small incorporation, which is the C corporation. The C corporation is the big, like Walmart is a C corporation. So it can raise money from all along a diverse people. They can have like regular shares and like other type of shareholder, what do we call it, actions that can issue. But the S corporation is also incorporated, but has a limitation of
how much
responsibility. Okay. Who can be owner, and then which type of shares you can issue. You understand? Yes, you cannot issue common shares and all those. No, you can only have one type. You cannot go over. The good thing with that is like it's a pass-through entity, and then when it comes to the taxation, if you're an S corporation, you most likely you can pay yourself as a business owner. You can pay yourself a salary. If you are LLC, you cannot do that. It's called guarantee payment, which means that it's kind of like owner withdrawal, okay?
Right.
Both of them are passed through, but the LLC, you have to pay self-employment taxes, which is like Social Security and Medicare. Opposed to when we're talking about S corporation, the S corporation, you don't have to. So at the end of the year, you file the taxes as a business, and then you share the profit of the business or the loss of the business to owners through the Schedule K. And then each one will go and file his taxes reporting whatever he made from the business or lost from the business. Same thing with S corporation. So while you are an LLC, when you go file your taxes with your Schedule K, then whatever income you made there, you have to pay 12.4% of Social Security because you are the owner of the business, so you are a business, and then you are employee of the business. But when it's S corporation, you don't have to pay on your Schedule K whatever is reported to you. You don't pay that, okay? So there's a very great opportunity out there. When we move to the C corporation has the advantage of the C corporation, you can raise money from different people. And then the consequences is like double taxation, which means the corporation will pay the taxes, and when the profit is left and the share to the owners, owners have to report and pay the taxes. However, there are some rules guiding how much you can pay, which type, and so on and so forth. We are not here for that. So these are the type of businesses one can look into when they want to create a business.
This is very, very helpful. Thank you, Francois. But
you're welcome.
I'm going to come to Mr. Kuala. But before I do that, I want to say real quick. Now, as a business owner, knowing the African diaspora, knowing how we say, how minimum resource we come with to this country, which one of those do you think will work, the African diaspora should be looking closely into, that you think might fit the need of most of the members of the diaspora?
Okay, when you look at, I think the great strength is getting together, okay? So when you get together, if you don't want to be reporting a lot and having obligations too much, I don't recommend for them to go for like incorporation today. But LLC is simple, easy to create. You can create an LLC and choose to be treated as S corporation when it comes to filing the taxes. My best advice would be like, go for an S corporation or an LLC and choose to be treated as an S corporation, because most of the time you want to have a limitation, you know. Let's say you are an S corporation and then at the end of the day you have a salary that is 100,000, okay? And then you have 15,000 from your Schedule K. If you're an S corporation, you only pay the self-employment tax, or let's say the Social Security and Medicare on the 100. You know, the 15 you don't get to pay on that. So you are saving some money there. Gotcha. But if you're an LLC, then you will pay 100,000 on 100,000, which is like guarantee payments, and then 15,000 you will pay. However, you're not going to pay all the 15. I think it's 116,000 that you have to pay the Social Security. After that, it's not. But Medicare, you have to pay on that, everything. So that's what I will say.
But
stay away from sole proprietorship or general partnership because of the liability issues. So that's what I will say.
Thank you, thank you. So, Mr. Kuala, we back to you now. You are a business owner here in the United States. Now, tell our viewers a little bit about your business. Okay. What do you do?
Thank you so much. Hi everyone. I think Wendog Sportwear is a dream come true. We, as a really passionate of sport, as a young team, we have taken our time, let's say years, to analyze, to study the market of sportwear. And we have seen the opportunities that we can obtain by launching our own sportwear brand. So we launched our brand recently, and we have applied some marketing strategies that we won't unveil here because of the competition. Okay. But for sure, we are really, really confident right now because Wendog Sportwear is well recommended and appreciated by our first customers. And for example, one of our strategy that I'm gonna say, we have some representatives. Like in Arizona, we have Dayton Brown, who is a representative there. In Lincoln, Nebraska, we have AC Chrome and Nelson Logan. And even in London we have our dear friend Florian Kofi. She is our representative. And in Montreal, we have Cyril Yamoyogo, who is representing Wendog Sportwear there.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Mr. Kwal, I'm going to stay a little bit with you. And noticeable, you are originally a French speaker. So and you now dealing in mostly English-speaking market. Now, coming back to Wendog Sportwear and your company, the American market here is known for its competitivity.
Yes.
Now, but you still managed to establish your business, and it looked like things are going well. Now, explain to us, explain to our viewers the obstacles you have encountered in creating your business.
I think for us as a company, we have put our strength together. We have put a synergy of actions together to face all the difficulties. Like our motto is Wendog Sportwear, the leader's brand. We think that on the market, any company that is scared of the competition is called to get out of the market, right, to disappear. So we are aware of that. So we did encounter some difficulties when we just started, but I'm not gonna say that we neglect them, but we are dealing on putting our energies together to face the competitors on the market.
Okay, thank you. So the same question will come to you, Mr. Yambi. You have created a business, a successful business. Tell us a little bit more about KG Taxes and Consulting, accounting consulting.
Okay. Yeah, KG Tax and Accounting Solution. I started this business. I came here in 2004. So January 2004, I arrived in America and then basically don't speak any word in English, even though I know how to write. So before I came here, I was an accountant for a very big distributor in Togo. So looking for from my first jobs, I met a guy from Gabon, and while he was training me, he asked me a question. Oh, brother, what was your job field in Togo? I said, I was an accountant. He said, oh, so you are the guys who prepare the tax return? I felt like, what that means? Prepare tax returns? So, and then he explained it to me as he understood, he knows. I kept that in my mind. In November, I was in my apartment, I saw a commercial, and then H&R Block is advertising that they are training people to become tax preparers. I said, this one, I will go. So I went and took the course to become a tax preparer. I had a barrier, a language barrier, which is very obvious, everyone, but in my class, I came first. So the instructor, it was a lady, she said, no, you have to do that at the end of the year. You will have to prepare the taxes. I said, okay. I was kind of like, intimidated. But we went through the training and all those things. At the end of the day, when I was in the office, I faced what we all face.
Right.
My manager didn't want people to come to my desk because I don't speak like everybody. So I went back and my teacher said, okay, come, I'll take you. I stayed there and I worked for the whole year. I filed the tax pretty well. Didn't have any issue. The next year, I did it. And that's where a friend of mine met me there and said, oh, you know all this, why don't you start yours? So I started my business preparing the taxes at home. The first year I got only 4 customers. 4. And that's all for the whole year. I did it. And the next year, people went to 23. From 23, they went to 44. And by 2009, I finished my education. I got my MBA in 2007 and got my CPA in 2009. I was out. My first office was rented in 2009. And then I decided to name my business KG Tax and Accounting Solution. KG standing Kajo Nyambi, which is my first name and last name, and Accounting Solution. That's where I came up. What I was doing at that time, I helped so many people. I filed the taxes. I don't have a limitation. I filed individual businesses, okay, non-profits. I do, and my customer base started growing and growing. I helped so many people to create their own businesses, help people with the payroll, and then basically business consulting like business plans, right, and all those things. So in 2011, I realized that, okay, in Togo, people will need me more than in America. So I need to go to Togo, where I came from. So if you kill something in the bush, you have to bring it home. I went back to Togo, and then I started KG Afrique and Associate, which is a CPA firm there. And after going through a lot, you know, your degree has to verify, they have to find the equivalence, and then make sure that you didn't, you don't tell people that you have this why you don't have it. So that's where I started my business in Togo, which is, again, the accounting field. We do a broad field of accounting services there.
Yeah.
So.
And thank you. I wanted to bring to our viewer how intimidating it could be for somebody who come in a world that they don't speak their language, they have to learn the language, they have to learn the culture and the business culture and dive into it and create something. It's certainly not easy, and I commend both of you for that. I know there is other ones, but I want to come back a little quickly. So now, Mr. Yambi, you have a business in Africa and you have a business here, okay, in the United States. So this question will probably, you can probably help us answer this question. And in your opinion, is there a relationship between entrepreneurship and economic development, Mr. Yambi?
Of course, of course. The economy is what? The economy is aiming to provide to the broadband citizens, right? And when you undertake an idea for you to make profit, and when you create a business, it's like a portion of the economy you are doing it. So the more businesses you guys create, you won't have so many people unemployed, right? People will be making their livings through your company. And then if there are so many businesses open, like you see in America, small business and medium business are the employers of the whole. That's why when we have the pandemic coming, they strictly enacted a law, the CARE Act, to help small businesses, because this government understands that if we don't do anything and small business go out of business, boy, you will never be able to deal with unemployment issues and social issues, like people will be crying for hunger and all those things. So if there's entrepreneurship is developed in a country, the economy also will go. Because companies pay taxes. When they pay taxes, they finance the budget of the country. Right. So if there's no company in a country, who's going to pay the taxes?
So the government can do it all.
They don't have money. If they don't have money, they cannot do anything. Roads, schools, hospitals, they will not be able to. You understand?
Yes,
so
yes.
In this country, every year, we have to file the taxes. Why? Because you have to make sure that your share in the the government budget is taken. You have to.
Very good. Thank you. Now, I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Kuala, and you have acquired, an experience starting your own business and successfully here in the United States. Now, my question: how easy is it to do the same to start a business in Africa? How easy you think it will be?
I think it wouldn't be the same to start a business in Africa as we did here in the United States. For spending most of my life in Africa, I really know the difficulties that African youth encounter. Coming from Burkina Faso in West Africa, I can say that it's really difficult on those countries to start quickly a business like we did. For example, when we decide to create our business, it takes like let's say a week to get all the papers and be recognized legally on state Nebraska. Like the first day we applied and we got our EI number, and the next days the state, everything was set, so we're ready to run our businesses.
Right.
But in Africa, it's totally different. It's totally hard to in the 1 week, or it takes like months. Sometimes if you are a young entrepreneur, you want to learn something, and if you're not affiliated to a political party, or you don't give something on the table, you won't be able to run your business.
Yeah. Now, can you tell us about, and again, those obstacles certainly refrain people, or at least intimidating young people from creating a business, starting a business. Any other obstacle that you can see that need to be removed for people to be encouraged to get into business in Africa?
Right, absolutely. I think there's plenty obstacle in Africa that need to be removed, and it's gonna allow the African youth to create and to be a good entrepreneurs. We have the startup capitals. The startup capitals for us is the most obvious of all the challenges. African startups, most of them, they have difficulties in finding the capital to start their businesses. We also have the political climate, the instability, like some political crisis.
Right.
It's create some difficulties for the youth to do their businesses.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Now,
if I may say something.
yes, please.
My experience in Africa is that creating a business in Africa, although in Togo, they have made some significant changes to allow people to be able to create the business. One thing is to be able to create a business. The other one is to be able to sustain your business and go years and years. One thing that I realized is the taxes that you have to pay at the beginning. The registration cost is a little bit high. And at the end of the year, for instance here, you create a business, you have at least 2 or 3 years. If you post a loss, you can get the economy of taxes,
Right.
So when you started making profit, you can now deduct your losses, to absorb all your loss in the past. Yes. In Togo, for instance, it's not like that. If your profit is negative, if you lose money, what they ask you to pay, they have you to pay a minimum taxes, which is 1% of your gross sales.
Even though you
have a loss.
Wow.
So, which means if you savvy technically, you better put your money in the bank than go into a business creation. Yes. Because you have 100,000, you create a business, at the end of the year, you lose something. Okay? Right. You still have to pay 10% of what you sold. Which means
gain or loss. You have
you have to come up with something from your pocket to pay the government. That will not incentivize people to create a business. And on top of that, there's the business mind is not there. Competitiveness is not. You don't play on a level. No. there are some limitations that you cannot.
Very good.
Here I can get a customer from US, from Canada, from New York or wherever and do the taxes. If you're going to go through in Togo, you want to go to Burkina Faso to get a job, there are some limitations also. You know, we have like barriers, the border barriers and all those things. So they try to remove them, but they're still there.
Right.
On paper, they are removed, but they're still there.
In reality.
Especially when you want to go there. One more thing that I realized, let's say you go to Togo and you want to sell this, like a sportwear. When you go, at the port of entry, you have to pay the sales tax in advance. You as a business, you have to pay for it, okay? And later on, when you sell, then you will, no, when you sell, you collect the sales tax. Okay. And now you will report to the government and then deduct what you have paid in advance. Wow. Which means you have to have more than you need to invest before you start a business. All these are the barriers. Yeah. And I remember when I was appointed somewhere that I wanted to do, that was one of my first discussions I had with the head. I said, no, I don't see this motivation. It doesn't motivate people to start a business. That's why so many of wealthy people will not undertake a business. They rather put their money in the bank, and then they know that they're going to get interest. That's enough. Small or what, at least they are sure that they will get that one.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, we're going to stay in on the continent. And this question will go to you, Mr. Kawala. And we're going to go on the other side, on the social media side. So do you think African business can capitalize on the information boom in Africa, especially on social media, for example?
Yes, we do. We do. I think information is the key in our world right now. If you're not well informed, you cannot make a quick and a very good decision. And we are really lucky in 2021 to have all those new technology that contribute to increase and enhance the economy in the world. So the African entrepreneur and African businesses globally, they have to use those opportunities, social medias. If you own a business in Africa, you have to be able to use internet to create your, like some website, have a qualified webmaster that can, you know, share your information by using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You have to be able to use all that. So if you're in Africa in 2021, you run a business and you cannot get to Instagram or Facebook to make a communication on your product, I think you'll be considered like an alphabet.
Thank you. So, real quick, in a few words, what advice can you give to the African youth about creating the organization? What advice can you give them?
Thank you. As an advice, I think as a young African entrepreneur, my advice to all my fellow Africans is to trust, to have a good thought, and to never give up. I think Africa is the future, and the African population, let's say, Africa's working population is projected to increase from 700 million in 2021 to 1 billion in 2030. So, being said, the African young will join the labor market, and they have to provide a quality of jobs, and I'm really confident and I really rely on the African youth, and I think we're gonna make great things happen.
Again, we were here in studio Thomas Sankara with Kwazampia Africa TV. Thank you and see you then.
Horizon d'Afrique, a production of Kwazampia African TV, bridging Africa to the world. Today's show was sponsored by